You think that's funny, do you?
Harry Potter. Love him or put up with him because everyone in the world refuses to read any other book. The cultural impact of such a dweeby little Melbourne boy cannot be ignored. Every child who read those books during their formative years fruitlessly hoped for one of those acceptance letters to fly in through their chimney. I don't have a chimney. Why are chimneys in everything? God damn it, Britain. Get central heating already. Being in Australia, I probably wouldn't have gotten one though, because I looked online and there are no wizarding schools in Australia. What the f, JK Rowling? You couldn't retcon that into the series? No, everyone has to be gay instead. What am I supposed to do? Go to Ouagadougou Wizarding School of Magic to get my secondary education in Uganda and learn how to speak Ugandan? No thank you, I shouldn't have to. I'm white. But the Harry Potter series, inspirational, creative, imaginative, historical, and definitely not past its prime. And then underneath that you have the fans. On one side you have people who grew up with this series of books and they love it because it feeds into their childhood nostalgia and reminds them of a simpler time. And then on the other side you have middle-aged women who want to fuck the blonde kid who played Draco Malfoy. And like, that's okay too, I guess. And in between all of that we have the fan creations. Some written, some drawn, some filmed, and everything in between. Even J.K. Rowling has gotten in on the fan creation action. I mean, why do they even have toilets there in the first place? Draco ran his fingers up his shaft, drawing the digits over his bollocks before skillfully dipping them into his cleft. Harry, who still had his show trousers on, wandered over, smirking a little as he crouched beside an already hard Draco Malfoy. What are you staring at? You're doing it wrong, Harry shrugged, eyeing Draco's fingers as they disappeared into his hole. Draco keened, not being able to stop as his fingers delved into the warm tightness of his own hole. Man, The Cursed Child really was as fanfiction-y as everyone else was saying. The fan films though, they're on a whole nother level, like up here, like this level. They're not on the same fanfiction-y level that Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them is, but they're still pretty high up there. So let's talk about some Harry Potter fan films. Finally getting to the point, about 3 years into the video. Woo! Fan films are usually made for one of two reasons. A, to show off how much you love an established film franchise, or B, the more common one, to display your filmmaking talent using an established property as a draw card. The logic being that if people enjoy your fan film about the origins of Voldemort's desire for a rhinoplasty, then they might stick around for films featuring your original character, Evil Stevel and his magnificent Weevil. I'd watch that. Unfortunately, that's rarely ever the case, because 90% of the time, the fan films are really just made because the one guy was like, hey, I figured out how to do the apparate effect in Premiere, so we should make a Harry Potter movie. And he had one friend who looked like Harry Potter, but not quite enough like Harry Potter, so they just made him James Potter and made a movie about the Marauders.
Like, maybe there's more to life than Quidditch and map building, I suppose.
Is not. Best thing we ever did was making that map. Reckon it'll make us legends.
Better remind everyone about the map, because that was in the books. Remember, that was in the books. Then when people watch it, they'll go, oh, that was in the books. The map was in the books. That's how I know that this is established lore in the Harry Potter universe. Because it was in the books. It was in the books. Surprise! The apparate effect is just the swirl effect done really quickly. Watch. Wasn't that f***ing sick? Look at me, I'm a wizard. I wasn't even joking, by the way. There are a lot of fan films about Harry Potter's dad and his 3 fairy bum buddies. It's weird. They made a map! Oh, they didn't do anything interesting outside of making a fucking map, and then they all died. The fan films can be divided into 2 categories. Stories based on established characters, like Harry Potter's dad, or stories just set in the Harry Potter universe, which I will now refer to as the Ponyverse for short. Actually, no, I won't, because that sounds like it has something to do with My Little Pony, and that is slightly more cancerous than the Harry Potter fandom. Potterverse! That's the f***ing term. It sounds like something a botanist would use to describe their poetry, but it's better than what I said. Films merely set in the Potterverse have the most potential, but the problem is the characters aren't from the main cast, so it's hard to actually care. The villains aren't big enough, and the characters aren't interesting enough. To be fair, it's pretty hard to get an audience to care about your odd team of old man wizard who isn't familiar with the source material, plucky woman wizard, goofy man wizard, and edgy open shirt wizard, all in the span of 15 minutes, whilst also telling an interesting story and not having a super hot lead character like Ron Weasley to get horny over. Something has to give when you want to dedicate half of your runtime to a wand battle. wand battle. On the flip side, the films based on established characters run into the issue of expecting you to be intimately familiar with the Harry Potter wiki, because they're not interested in backstory, they just want to jump into a wand battle as well. Everyone wants to just jump into a wand battle. It's ridiculous. Take Son of the Moon, a fan film about famous marauder Remus Lupin. Fun side note, Remus is a name from a character in Greek mythology about a boy who was raised by wolves. Lupin is the Latin name for wolf. Poor little f***er never stood a chance. It would have been surprising if he didn't become a werewolf. That's like naming your f***ing owl character Hootie McFlapwings, or your snake character Slytherin. Now I get it. So in this film, Remus Lupin is piss-farting about with a guy who communicates in a completely different language to his mates.
They caught McLaughlin. Malfoy slaughtered him in cold blood.
He's sent by someone who does a terrible Dumbledore impression.
Dear Remus, once again, I must ask too much of you.
To recruit Fenrir Greyback into Dumbledore's army because he is also a werewolf. So he goes, and instead of seeing some dope werewolves fight in a dogfight, we have one guy trying to do a scary voice.
A lost pup come to join his pack.
And then they shoot wand lasers at each other. Anyone passing by would just think it's an EDM concert.
It's this way!
Even the best of the fan films, like this one with 18-year-old James Potter that looks like he's pushing 40, is essentially reduced to a 10-minute long wand laser fight. Severus Snape and the Marauders. Ooh, the casting was great in that one for the most part. Old mate who's playing Sirius Black, I'd battle wands with him. Look at him. Ooh, he's smooth. Anyway, the problem with everything being reduced to a wand laser fight is that none of it feels earned. And a big fight like that has to be earned. How many wand fights did we have in the original series? It wasn't a lot. The big one was in the 4th movie, I think, with Harry and Voldemort reenacting their favorite Goku and Vegeta beam struggle. That was earned. There were 4 films worth of build-up behind it. They weren't only shooting laser beams at each other, they were shooting emotion and story at each other. There was weight behind those special effects. Now that kind of thing is hard to pull off with only 8 minutes worth of build-up. I want to see you behind the scenes of these beam struggles, because without special effects, these things would look ridiculous. These films that are using established characters also beg the question, how much pre-information are you expected to have going into these? Am I supposed to know that James and Snape hate each other from my previous knowledge of the Harry Potter films? Or is this old man kicking a chair out from underneath an emo teenager supposed to be enough exposition and character building? Fan films are one of the ultimate expressions of love for a property, so you have to appreciate the love and dedication and hard work that has gone into these fantastic beasts, even if they aren't all that great. So with that in mind, you know what's coming. Please enjoy my fan film about Australian wizarding boy genius Russell Muzzer and his magic wand. Please subscribe. It's sure hard being a boy wizard during this dark time, during the events of Harry Potter 7. What's this? Whoa. Oh,
Oh, piss on Voldemort, you big stupid dickhead.
Oh, I did it! So that's where Voldemort was between the last 2 Harry Potter movies.